Horizon Chance from Reacts, and this is the deadliest virus on earth by the channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. Yes, another Kurzgesagt video. Always, look out for when Kurzgesagt uploads the next video because it's always awesome. Anything about science is awesome, but yeah, Kurzgesagt explains things very brilliantly with animated details to it, which is I don't think there's any other channel like it I've seen. I mean, there are lots of science channels, but not any better channel like Kurzgesagt, right? As far as I know, at least. But yeah. And Kurzgesagt also covers a vast spectrum of science. It's not just one thing. So I've seen a few virus video. I guess there was a parasite type of video where he said like most of the parasites like that has been extinguished deliberately. There was a campaign behind it. I'm like, thank God, because he showed like how there's weird thing comes out of your leg and shit. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be alive seeing that. So I'm glad that things like that is extinct now. But yeah, viruses. I mean, obviously, we went through the current pandemic, so the topic of virus is all like, God damn it, not again. Every time we hear about it, just like there's a depressant to it. It's not just horror. It's not just being horrified. It's just that it's just like, God damn, not again. But yeah, deadliest virus. I don't know which one. Is he going to talk about Black Death? I'm pretty sure he made a video about that. I'm pretty sure I reacted to it as well, right? About the bubonic plague. So I don't know which virus he's going to talk about here, but it's going to be interesting. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to do tomorrow. Check out the reaction. This link in the description. And yeah, that's what it.
In the 1970s, thousands of chicken heads rained from the sky in Europe, making foxes and other wildlife confused and very happy. Why? They were filled with a vaccine to fight the deadliest virus known to humanity.
Rabies!
Since the 1930s, a rabies epidemic had been sweeping across wildlife populations in Europe, and humans wanted to finally get rid of the virus once and for all. Rabies is named after Lyssa, the ancient Greek spirit of mad rage, and has been haunting us for at least 4,000 years. It can turn animals into angry beasts and humans into zombies that fear water. But what makes Lyssa fascinating is not just how bizarre and deadly its infection is, but also how incredibly good it is at avoiding our defenses.
Yeah, all right. So rabies, damn, that's that's a virus that that's where the zombie thing comes from, right? I mean, rabies is the closest thing to being a zombie, even though not really, right? Zombies are undead. That's not what happens with the rabies. I mean, I know a bit about rabies, obviously not in detail because I have knowledge in lots of scientific field. Biology is not one of them. I don't have that much knowledge in it. But rabies is obviously one of the famous one. Of course, most people probably know about it somewhat. So obviously, everyone knows about the saliva, right? Everybody just start to foam from their mouth, and holy shit, this is a problem. And obviously that's how viruses basically jumps to some other people and just expand. That's their mechanism, right? Lots of people, lots of viruses, not people. Lots of viruses basically spreads through like if you sneeze or something, right, or some way like that. But obviously rabies comes from the foam or whatever. So when a wild animal bites somebody, obviously it will jump from them to other. So yeah, I don't know how common rabies is, but I'm pretty sure this is one of those viruses that like you just hears about but don't really know if anybody ever got it, right? I'm pretty sure the world is so big. I'm pretty sure there's somebody somewhere who probably gonna get it, and there are some cases everywhere or something. I'm pretty sure I've never heard of anybody getting it. Right, this is that kind of like people used to be afraid, I guess, a few decades ago when a dog bites something. Holy shit, I'm gonna get rabies or something. I need to go to doctor or whatever. Right? I don't think that happens. Today. I don't know if this rabies virus got eliminated, like how they showed it here with the chicken heads. That's just heavy, right? They just rain chicken heads. Every animal like, oh, is this Christmas?
Viruses exist on the edge between life and death, hardly more than a few genetic instructions that need living cells to multiply. The Lyssa virus is simple even for a virus. It has only 5 genes, that is the instructions for 5 proteins that let it solve complex problems, infect a mammal, avoid its immune system, travel to its brain, make more of itself, and infect new hosts.
Damn.
Let's see what happens if you get infected. It all starts with a bite.
It's one of the simplistic viruses, but it has 5 functions. I thought the viruses are supposed to be more simple than that, just with few functions. But apparently this is the simplistic of them. So there are many viruses which has complex functions than that.
Most likely by a dog carrying millions of viruses in its saliva, pushing them deep into the tissue. The goal is your nerve cells, your neurons. They are living electrochemical wires transferring signals throughout your body and can stretch for up to 1.5 meters with their cellular machinery on one end and a terminal on the other. The terminal is where cells talk to each other by passing chemicals that convey information. Lissa probably binds to the receptors that are crucial for this process and slips inside the unsuspecting nerve cells. Inside, the virus has to solve a big problem. It needs to get to the cellular machinery to take over the cell and make more viruses, and because neurons are pretty long, this can be far away. There is a solution at hand though. Cells have microtubules spanning their insides that give them structural integrity, but they also provide a track system for a specialized delivery system. Dynein motors are actual motors that use energy and deliver packages. They're made from 50 different proteins, 10 times more than the virus, and look like a little pair of shoes. Lissa uses one of its 5 proteins to hijack this amazing system and order it to head for the nucleus.
Yeah, see, this is the it's also interesting and fucked up at the same times. Our immune system is such a complex and such efficient in a way. I mean, obviously it took a long time. It's like if you try to build a car by your own in a shed when you know nothing about cars, but in 50 years you'll make a car that is the best in the world or something because of trial and error. That's how our immune system became really complex through evolution after so many years. But it's such a efficient in a way, such a well made in a way that it becomes easier for viruses to exploit that system, right? Even though immune systems are so there to basically root out any viruses and problem like that, but lots of viruses jump onto the system, how it works in the immune system, right, and makes their travel and spreading easier, right, which is a fucked up thing. There's always pros and cons and things, with anything, and immune system is one of them. But obviously, immune system is such adaptive, right, that eventually it might be too late, but eventually they do catch up to it, like what's happening, and basically eliminate it.
What's the immune system doing to prevent all of that? Well, unfortunately, not much. Usually, when a virus attacks, your civilian cells are crucial in activating your immune response. They notice that they've been infected and release hundreds of thousands of a special family of proteins, the interferons that, interfere with viruses. We'll have to simplify a lot, but in a nutshell, interferons alert your immune system to make antivirus weapons. But they do much more.
These are civilian cells who narc to other, authority figures like immune cells.
Tell civilian cells to turn down their protein factories for a while, which means that viruses can't replicate efficiently anymore. And interferons tell your cells to become super transparent, which is important because how can your immune cells notice that your civilian cells are infected when viruses hide inside them? Your body solves this by creating display windows into their insides called MHC class 1 molecules.
I was recently reading about that. Holy shit. Alright, MHC, I think if I remember correctly, it stands for Major Histocompatibility Complex, right? Basically, it just in a way tell your, T cells, right? Like there's an infection here. Transplant, like I said, it forms some kind of peptides or something on top of cell that alerts T cells, like what's happening there, right? MHC1, helps T cells, right? By creating antigens or something, while MHC2, which is kind of similar, but it helps the helper T cells, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Cells constantly produce stuff to stay alive, and to showcase to your immune cells what's going on inside them, they take random samples of their products and put them into these tiny display windows to give a peek inside. Interferons tell your cells to make way more display windows and become super transparent. If a cell is infected and forced to make virus parts, your immune cells will see these parts in a window and order the infected cell to kill itself and all the viruses trapped within. This is one of the most powerful methods of wiping out a viral infection. Unfortunately, Lissa blocks your neurons from making interferons and stays basically invisible to your immune system. In contrast to many other viruses, when it replicates, it doesn't kill its host. which would also
the
trigger
fuck?
alarm systems. Instead, it stealthily jumps from neuron to neuron, very slowly making its way to your brain.
Damn.
This phase can take weeks to months and very rarely even years, and depends on a bunch of things, like if the bite was in your face or foot, or how many viruses got into your muscles. Lissa is a patient monster until it reaches its goal, your brainstem. Finally, the immune system catches on that something isn't right and reacts. It dispatches some of your most powerful antivirus cells, killer T cells, to seek and kill infected cells and wipe out the enemy. In other viral infections, this would be a turning point, but in rabies, the T cells are rushing towards their doom. Simple Lissa, with its 5 proteins, plays a reverse card, using the immune system's ingenuity against itself.
What?
Your central nervous system is a very fragile part of your body, and so the immune system has to be very careful. A few haywire immune cells in your brain is a quick way to die. So they aren't free to enter your nervous system, they have to be invited in and can be kicked out. To protect themselves, your nerve cells can order T cells to self-destruct if they think they're overreacting. And Lissa figured out a way to make infected neurons express this order. So as your powerful defense cells arrive, they are ordered to commit.
Damn, this is so horrifying, man. Yeah. Obviously, people say like, viruses, germs, basically this thing's just trying to survive. It doesn't have malicious intent, right? It's just trying to survive. Killing a host is not their goal. But look at that, seeing how complexly they're working. Are you sure they're not malicious? This is so fucked up. Obviously, in order to survive, they'll do everything they can, but this is so fucked up. They even figure out to tell T cell to explore, right? So I don't. Obviously, eventually a patient dies. Is patients die by sepsis or something because of bodies too infected? Immune cell is basically killing the host itself. I don't know, but this is seriously horrifying, man. I mean, there are so many viruses that are so deadly like this, right? And I'm so glad that they are not main spread around the world. Like people just get that, like how some people get influenza or something nowadays, right? It's been so many years, but people sometimes even get flu or something like this. They stay in the system for a week or two. But I'm so glad that deadly things like this is not common, as far as I know at least.
It's suicide. Now the virus infiltrates the brainstem. Once this stage is reached, you are going to die. How Lissa kills. One of the most irritating things about the Lissa virus is that we still don't know exactly how and why an infected person dies. Our usual idea of viruses causing damage is by multiplying rapidly, killing their host cells once they've...
Alright, look, our brain is obviously all our body's organ is like that, but our brain is kind of weak internally in a way. It's not weak, but it's very sensitive, right? I mean, if we have blood pressure rises a bit like 180, 200 and stays that's you're probably gonna get aneurysm at that point, and so something burst inside your brain. I mean, brain is such a complex thing, right? We still can't understand how consciousness works. We still can't understand how fully brain works because it's that level of complex. And we can do really experiments, but yeah, it's so complex that we still can't understand it, and because of that complexity, it's kind of sensitive too. Like a rise in blood pressure is enough to burst something in your brain. So when all these infected cells that gets inside your brain, I guess eventually it causes enough damage that you'll die. I guess that must be the case.
Made enough copies, triggering a massive immune reaction that also does a lot of damage. But this doesn't seem to be what happens here. Brain tissue of rabies patients shows minimal, sometimes non-existent damage.
Really?
Instead of murdering everything in sight, it's currently thought that Lissa wreaks havoc by messing up the neuron communication inside your brain, so much so that it can't function anymore.
Oh.
This leads to symptoms like confusion, aggression, and paralysis.
Yeah, holy shit.
Now the virus begins to leave. Still
holy shit. I mean, damn, so it shuts down in your brain, it's like a coma, but for your brain in a way. I mean, coma is for your brain, but it's a different type of coma. Like your brain cannot function, cannot tell the next thing what to do, basically how our brain process, right? So even though we might not be dead, it will feel like we died. So we might be in a weird coma at certain point. Obviously, your brain cannot function, so your body will shut down too, like your heart and everything. Eventually, you will actually die. But between that portions, we might not really be dead, but it will feel like we are dead, which would be a really fucked up and I guess, painful experience by the end. Damn.
Traveling through neurons, it migrates away from the brain and heads for the salivary glands. This is remarkable because after traveling in one direction, the virus reverses its course. After decades of study, we don't know how this works. Lissa ends up saturating your saliva, ready for the irate mammal to bite another and repeat the cycle. While this seems like the beginning of a zombie outbreak, luckily there are no known cases of a human biting another and spreading rabies this way. Now,
Look there. So let me get this virus, over time became mutated in a way that virus thought it's just gonna, infect wild animals like dogs, wild dogs or something like that. I'm pretty sure this virus didn't mutate in a way that it took into account humans, right? Because it's whole survival based on they will bite somebody, but humans don't do that. I mean, that is something. So I guess it jumped species and then evolved for human in a way.
Is near. You are rapidly developing encephalitis, a swelling of the brain with many unpleasant neurological symptoms from lethargy to paralysis. Slowly at first, and then suddenly, organ after organ fails as you slip into a coma. There is no known effective therapy. Barely anyone has ever survived Lissa once symptoms begin to show.
God.
It is by far the deadliest virus we know. Except there is actually something that could save you: a vaccine. Rabies was one of the first diseases humans developed a vaccine for. As vaccines do, it prepares your immune system for a future attack, so it has the right weapons ready in high numbers. The horrific tricks of simple Lissa don't work once you are vaccinated. And the vaccine is special for another reason. Because Lissa is so slow in the first few weeks, it can be given to you after you've been exposed. So you can still be vaccinated after you've been bitten by an animal, which is super important.
That's why people are like, oh, holy shit, I got bitten by dog. So all the injections that you get after getting bitten, one of them would be, this for the rabies virus. So that's why we don't see many account of rabies, because there's actually a fucking vaccine for that. Thank God for that, right? This is a slow killer, right? If you don't know what's happening, right? When you realize something's happening, it's really too late. Like this is just fucked up. So I'm glad but all those anti-vaxxers, I mean, I don't even know. I don't want to put another rant here. Video's already getting way too long. But still, all those anti-vaxxers, they're probably going to say no to the rabies antivirus as well. Like, what the fuck, man? Just take the fucking vaccine. You'll never know when you get rabies. And by that, it'll be to end.
If you've had contact with a sick wild animal, say a bat, because you often don't even notice a bite from tiny teeth.
Yeah.
Rabies is a monster. One that has followed our species around for thousands of years, that our ancestors were terrified of, and rightly so. It still kills around 60,000 people each year, almost half of them children. We are far from eradicating this monster. It lurks in the shadows, in forests and animals of all kinds, ready to return in greater numbers if we ever forget how to keep it at bay, or if we continue the trend of being suspicious of vaccines. Let's hope that...
Look, obviously not all 60,000 of them are anti-vaxxers. Very few of them is going to be. Most of them are going to be from the poor country or where they can't get the vaccine. To that, I'm going to say that, look, viruses are deadly for the whole planet. We just got the dose of it just 2 years ago, right? In 2020, what happened there, right? What happened in COVID, where everybody got infected. So when it comes to virus and vaccines, I think, I guess major countries of the world whose economy is fine, like top 10 economical countries of the world with GDPs, should basically, at least give fund that everybody around the world gets vaccinated. Not to help out the people, which, lots of people would have, lots of conservative would have problem with, but to help out themselves. Like if virus is eradicated, it's not going to come back. Right? But even if it's happening in some poor countries somewhere, right, there's a chance eventually it will spread to someone else, or it can mutate and spread somewhere else where vaccine won't work. So I don't get this. Like, this is even for the people who are giving money. This is good for even them and their children for the future. Removing viruses completely is pretty important. So major countries in the world should, I guess, come together and, create some kind of fund for WHO or whatever. They would actually go to poor countries, give free vaccines or something. Obviously, there are always going to be some anti-vaxxers who's going to be a problem. But yeah.
One day, humanity slays this monster. so it can become, like most monsters, part of our imagination. There are much deeper levels of knowledge to explore about rabies than the glimpse we just showed you. But digging into sources and scientific information on your own can be intimidating. So we've partnered with our friends from Brilliant to create an...
Yeah, people, go to brilliant.org for this nutshell. Support this channel. Kurzgesagt is great. No other channel is like this. I like, watching videos like this. They're even short, like 10-minute videos. It's not like you're going to watch a documentary or something. So it's really interesting. But yeah, obviously viruses never truly go away because of the reasons I said. Like, we can really fix it. Major countries really spend money somewhere that they don't need to and needlessly waste money, right? So, just spending enough, like creating a pool of money just to vaccinate everybody around the world, it's not that hard or that costly in a way, right? And if you do that at that large number, vaccine is going to cost less anyway. So, people should do that for their own good, not for, I'm not saying like, do that for charity for other people, which lots of people are going to have a problem, lots of conservative have a problem. Like, their mentality is just this, I'm just going to worry about me. Why would I care about anybody else? Yeah, for you and your future family. If viruses are not there anymore, they can't mutate. But if they mutate and we don't have answer, we are going to be fucked, especially a virus is like that, right? This virus is really fucked up. If this virus mutates, yeah, and in today, like past 10 years, world has changed in a different level, right? Everything has become global. Like what happened with 2020, if that had happened in like 2010 or before that, I don't think the fallout would have been as big as it was. In past 10 years, world travel has become way too common, right? Everybody travels everywhere. So spreading of a virus is much easier nowadays. And if the virus is like this, yeah, we are all going to be fucked. So yeah. Well, people, that was the deadliest virus on earth by the channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. If you like my Nixon, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.